My name is Cyndi Ceithaml, and I'm originally from Jackson, Michigan.
My name is Greg Ceithaml. Originally, I'm from Plainwell, Michigan. Helping one another, being interested in the same things, spending time together, those are all very important.
Respecting each other is also very important in a relationship. One thing that Greg has helped me with during our marriage is to be more comfortable in large crowds and being able to communicate with anyone.
And I would say Cyndi has taught me the importance of organization and keeping track of what has to happen when, being on time. She's a very organized person and she's helped me a lot. There's a lot of advice we could give, I'm sure. One piece of advice I have that sounds silly, but I think it's important, is just pitching in around the house. Vacuuming, cleaning, helping Cyndi do some of the things that traditionally are considered women's work. There's no such thing as women's work anymore, and helping around the house is important.
Well, I think it all goes back to communication, and I feel very comfortable talking with Greg about any problems that I have or anything that I disagree with him about, or yeah, just anything. Being able to talk to each other.
I think Cyndi would agree with me too. Patience is important.
Oh yes.
Sometimes you just have to take a breath, take a step back, and understand that everything's going to be okay. I know that Cyndi has to do that from time to time.
We had a mutual friend, and we met at their house, and they were having a good get-together where we were having pizza and watching Friends, and there was a large group of people.
And the TV was on, and they did a report about how the big selling toy that year for Christmas was Tickle Me Elmo. And I said, "What's Elmo?" And this hot girl on the couch said, "You don't know who Elmo is?"
And he said, "No, I don't." And so then I proceeded to describe Elmo to him and who he was, and yeah, that's the first conversation that we ever had. I asked my friends later, who was that guy that asked about Elmo? And they said his name was Greg, and that they actually wanted us to meet. And so I said, huh, okay. So I told my friend, all right, go ahead and give him my phone number so that he can give me a call. The first time we talked on the phone, it was at least a half an hour. It was very comfortable, and so we talked and talked, and we ended up going out that weekend with our friends that set us up.
They knew that we had been talking on the phone, and they invited us to dinner at a restaurant on the north side called Mario's. And I don't think I even ate anything that day. I was a little nervous and I didn't want to eat in front of her. After dinner, we went back to Mike and Gina's house where we watched a movie. I don't even remember what the movie was, but I was just happy to be there with her.
Yeah, and then we pretty much from that day on talked to each other every single day, at least talked to each other or saw each other.
I don't remember there being a specific moment, but there were a million little things that just felt very comfortable with her. So no one moment to point to, but it just felt right from the very beginning.
I remember saying to him that I was definitely falling for him. And if he didn't have the same mutual feelings, that we should just stop so that my heart didn't break. And he told me that he was falling for me too. So we kept seeing each other.
So I called my dad, and we headed for Chicago. My grandfather knew a jeweler there, and he said that they knew a lot about diamonds, and I didn't know much about diamonds at all. So we got in the car and started driving around Lake Michigan. And when we got to Chicago, we found the jewelry store, a small store. The two owners, a couple from Poland, they helped us, and they knew a lot about diamonds, and they had beautiful diamonds there, and we found one. We walked outside, and there was, without an exaggeration, a foot of snow on my car. Snow came down heavier than I've ever seen it while we were inside. So when we came outside, we were in for a big surprise, and we wound up driving home. I think we were going 20 miles an hour on the interstate around Lake Michigan, and you just couldn't see anything, and I drove a very small car. It was a memorable experience. The very next morning, though, I got up early. I couldn't sleep, and I jumped in the car again and drove all the way from my parents' house to Jackson, which was a couple hours, and I surprised her that morning.
I think it was on a Sunday morning. I was in my parents' house and I was getting ready, and kind of out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone pass across a doorway, and I thought, who in the world was that? The next thing I know, he had shown up at my parents' house, and right then he had asked my mom if he could take my hand in marriage, and she obviously said yes. So he called me out of the room that I was in, and I said, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." And there was a really big snowstorm. It wasn't a storm, but it snowed a lot. And he had this tiny little red Pulsar car. And so I was shocked that he was driving the car all the way in this terrible weather. And he told me that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me and asked me to marry him. Our wedding was in Jackson, and it was July 18th of 1998.
It wasn't a small wedding, it wasn't a large wedding, it was just right. All of her friends, all of my friends. It was a beautiful ceremony. I remember bits and pieces of that day. I remember being nervous, but in the end, I think it was a beautiful wedding, a great reception, and a lot of good memories.
Well, he always does little things around the house to help me, and he knows that if I'm stressed out, he'll give me a shoulder massage or help me do things as far as cooking dinner or vacuuming or doing a load of laundry. Those little things mean a lot.
I think it's the small day-to-day things. It's rubbing my back when I come home from work and giving me a kiss. It's doing small things like taking walks with me outside. There are just a lot of little things that add up to a very comfortable, secure feeling of home.
So now we've been married for over 20 years, and we have 3 beautiful children, and we have a great dog, and we have a little fish too.
We bought 2 houses together. We're on 5 or 6 cars, a couple minivans, and we couldn't be happier. So are we done? We good?
Yeah, you're good.
You good?
Okay, good.